right, everybody, it's your main man. I know I'm your guy. You my people. How about that? That's how I look at it. Nothing you can do about it. You sitting here watching me, so I claim you my people on Strong Inspirations. And let me tell you something, I like you all because you're watching me. And you're watching me maybe because you're curious and want to know what's going on. But maybe I really think you're watching me because I'm giving you this good Black history. Some of it is not, I have a good story to it. You know, I mean, the slavery and all that civil rights stuff, but nonetheless, we overcame because here we are. We're still standing strong. We cannot be stopped, and I can't be stopped here at Strong Inspirations. I have to let you know, my name is Anthony Brogdon, always has been, and I am excited to have my guest on the channel. She might not be able to hear me, but check it out. She said, I know that we've been talking for a while, and I appreciate your patience. You know what I said to her? Sister, I don't care how long it took. I'm going to be ready when you're ready. Let me tell you, when I get these people that say that, and everybody got things they doing, you know, the world is crazy. But when they take time out to come on Strong Inspirations, I sure enough appreciate it because you don't have to do it. And they taking time to share this, what they know, with you, my guests, and with me. I have learned a lot since I've launched this. You know, we over 270 videos strong and new ones added weekly. Oh my God, like I tell you, the train has left the station. So come on, hit the subscribe button. It's free. I don't ask no information. It just let me know you like me. Hit the like button on this video, because watch, she's gonna put something on your head that I know you don't know. Hit the notifications bell when the videos come up, because I put them up all kind of times. I don't want to have no schedule when I do them because it locks me in, and I got a lot of stuff going on and I don't want to be locked in. I want to do it when I feel like the Lord has put it on my heart to enlighten you once again. That's how I look at it. And tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Don't keep it to yourself. Let it flow. Share these videos with your friends, with the people that you know are cognizant. Take it to the classrooms. You can move the cursor and you can put in and show whatever amount you want to show to go within that classroom time. Let them kids hear these stories, these amazing stories of resilience, tenacity, fortitude, and all that good stuff that is shown here on Strong Inspirations. Do this. Watch my movie. I'm serious. I got this documentary that, excuse me, that I've done, 75 powerful minutes on slaves who own businesses, slaves who use the money to buy their freedom, how slaves learn how to read and write, and what racists did to destroy Black business district because they was jealous of us. They thought they held us down. And I buried that part in the middle of the film. I'm not going to end on that. No way. And the movie starts and ends with a guy that's 101 years old at the time we filmed it. And my man said, let me tell you something, you can't tell me nothing. And I'm 101 years old. I've seen it all. Watch my movie. It's streaming on Amazon. And read my book. Black business book. It's like the movie, but more powerful. I got all these facts that I know you don't know. And if you do know all of them, I give your money back. A book with a money back guarantee. And my book is on my website and on Amazon, but my website is businessintheblack.net. Now, like I told you, I got these videos that check me out. I'm serious. Do me. Come on. And check it out. I told you I got these videos, almost 270. Did you see the video of the guy whose great-great-grandfather was one of the last slaves brought to America? And he was brought here illegally on that ship called the Catilda? Watch that video. Did you see the one that I did with a guy who he went to a boarding school called the Pineywood Boarding School, Pineywood, Mississippi. It was started by a Black man who had a PhD in 1909. He was a student at that school, and what they taught him to make him the great man he is today, watch that video. Keeping on that note of education. Did you see the one where I got with this lady who was a PhD professor who says that all the ways slaves learned how to read and write and how they put their life on the line just to better themselves in that regard? Watch that video. Man, I got some of everything covered. I didn't know that there could be a household where one mate is enslaved, and the other is free in the same household. Amazing. Watch that video. And how about I give one more? The sister, she ready? She smiling. She said, come on, man, let's get it on. I got one more for y'all, please. Watch the video I found of the guy. He's out in New York. He moved to Tennessee. My man said he was in the park one day. He was watching, and there was a swimming pool. He saw this guy get out of the water with a scuba gear on. He said, man, what you doing? He said, I'm scuba diving. He said, man, I want to try it. My man loved it so much, he's got an organization called Diving with a Purpose, and they look for sunken slave ships. Watch that video and so many more. The train has left the station. I'm giving it to you straight, no chaser. And I'm gonna keep giving it to you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Just keep watching. Keep loving what I'm doing. And I can feel the vibe through the screen. And I get messages too. People messaging me. One more, come to my Black History Festival. I'm having my own one. I'm branching out. I'm going to the people now. It's in Kansas City, Kansas, Memorial Day weekend, May 27th, 28th, and 29th. We're gonna party in a barn on Friday night. I said a barn because I want to feel that vibe. That's what they did. And wear your dusty blue jeans. Don't come dressed up. But we're gonna do some dancing because I like to dance. I just don't dance as long. I'm a little older. Come to, and then the next day we're gonna have tours of the area in Quindaro. Watch the video on the channel. We're gonna have a picnic where the people gonna serve the food. It's not catered. We're gonna serve you some burnt hot dogs if you want yours burnt. I like mine burnt. You know what I mean, my friends? And then we're gonna hear the voices of the people that escaped from Missouri to end up in this place called Quindaro. It's gonna blow your mind. There's a video on the channel that talks about this. And then the next day, we're gonna have a church service that's gonna uplift you like never before. And then I'm gonna give you some more food. Now, it's a one price weekend deal, very, very reasonable. But you gotta get that by March 1st. And then the price goes up a little bit. I want to encourage you. I want to get you to do it because I got to put all this together and it's going to be well organized. I promise you that. You're going to enjoy this. And we got group rate at the hotel. Now, you hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. It really is. Somebody said you got to come up with a word. Boom. I came up with strong. Strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to my guest today. She's smiling, she's good looking, she's ready. She's a Gullah Geechee too. Watch out. If you don't know, you will know what that means and what that entails. Strong sister, come on and introduce yourself. Let's get it on. Thank you for being on Strong Inspirations.
So thank you for having me on. My name is Akua Page. I'm Gullah Geechee from North Charleston, South Carolina. And the Gullah Geechee people, if you look at it, if you Google it, it'll say Gullah Geechee people are descendants of Africans who were enslaved on Southern plantations, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. But I don't like to call it that. I like to say Gullah Geechee people are descendants of agriculture and food scientists, because that's what that's where we descend from. And we were kidnapped because of our knowledge and expertise in how to grow pretty much anything.
Okay.
So that's how I like to describe what Gullah Geechee is. But
All
our
right, let me
homeland
stop you
is
there.
in
Just
the
I don't
South.
mean no disrespect. I got a couple questions to ask from you. How did you
I know you
find
do.
that out that you were Gullah Geechee and that was in your background?
So that's a great question. So I'm from North Charleston, South Carolina. So I've always was told that I was Geechee just by the way that I speak, by the way I carry myself, certain mannerisms that I do. But there's a lot of miseducation. So I was always told like you Geechee, but in like a negative way, in a negative connotation. So for a long time, even for me, like growing up in school, somebody called you Geechee, that was fighting words. So, but I guess that's just the like the rebel inside of me. I still would just claim it because I'm just like, well, this is what I am. Either you love it or hate it. But it wasn't until I did some self-education that I realized what it actually meant to be Gullah Geechee and the power within that.
Okay, let me ask you this. Who said that it had the bad connotation? Was it other Black people or just the white people saying that?
So it was both because how Gullah Geechee was developed, it was developed on plantations. Gullah Geechee was developed on southern plantations, and it's a mixture of multiple different African ethnicities that were forced to come together during that time period, and they gave birth to a whole new culture. And what was going on when they had missionaries coming to the South, and they met people who spoke Gullah Geechee, but at the time they was calling it Sea Island Creole or Plantation Creole, and they just thought of it as a backwards way of talking. So they would actually beat people who spoke this language. So I like to say it's part of that ancestral trauma, that post-traumatic slave syndrome that Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about, as to why certain Black people will say they feel a type of way too of being called Geechee if they are Geechee, or if they hear somebody who like speak Geechee, they'll feel like, well, don't speak like that. That's bad. And especially white folks inside the school system. I was a public school teacher for 10 years before the pandemic happened. And it's like, it's still happening in the school system. Like they'll put the kids in special ed, put the kids in speech class, or even label them with a learning disability just because they speak Gullah Geechee.
Now, let me ask you this. How about this? Could a person be on the same plantation, almost the same background, heritage, and what have you, and somebody be Gullah Geechee and somebody not be Gullah Geechee?
Not really. So how Gullah
Okay.
Geechee, because Gullah Geechee is when they were kidnapping us, they called it the Rice Coast. But
Okay, hold on. Let me stop it. They were kidnapping us from Africa.
Right, from Africa.
Okay.
And then in that region they called it the Rice Coast. But that entails West and Central Africa. Now they have it, Cameroon, Ghana, but that's not the name that the people who were there actually called it. That's what the colonizers they called it.
Okay.
But they were taking us from different areas. So I recently did my ancestry, and I'm a descendant of women from present day Cameroon, but they didn't even call themselves Cameroon. Like it extends far back. So it's a lot of different African ethnicities that make up what is Gullah Geechee. That's what, there's not just one like tribe or culture in Africa that can pinpoint Gullah Geechee, because it's literally a mixture of different African cultures. That's why Gullah Geechee, I consider it like one of the babies of the Black diaspora. Just the same way with like any Caribbean cultures. We all went through that same creolization process. But I guess depending on where the boat stopped at, that's how we formed our new identities.
Oh, okay. So when hold on, you just said something there. I want to go back. You traced your heritage to Africa?
Yeah, so I recently did, because I always knew I was Gullah Geechee, but that still didn't, like, I wanted to know more, because just like most Black folks, I can't trace my ancestry past, I couldn't trace it past my great grandmother. After that, I didn't know much, which a lot of Black people, we don't, unless I feel like lucky enough to trace it to a plantation. So I took an African ancestry test, which is the only one I recommend, since that's a Black owned company, and they also don't sell your DNA like other companies. And they test my mitochondrial DNA. And it, based on my mitochondrial DNA, it showed that I'm a descendant of a woman from present day Cameroon, which they used to call themselves, they called that region the Tikar. But even that's the name that colonizers called them. So that's not really what they considered themselves. They also called them Bantu speaking people. So it's a lot of different ethnicities and labels that they gave people, but it traced back to that West Central Africa region, which is also, it made me feel excited and happy, because With Charleston being so unique in that area, so during slavery, when people knew like there was like a chance you would be kidnapped, like they didn't care if you were a descendant of a king, queen, like they were just taking everybody that they could put their hands on. And
Right.
so what the women would do is they would braid different seeds into their daughters, mothers, aunties' hair, and that's how we have a even okra. Like okra is still that's not even an English word. That still comes from Africa, and that's one of the seeds that they would braid into their hair. It's okra, rice, and different types of seeds, which is so unique to this area because rice is Charleston is was made the way it is because of rice. When people talk about slavery, they talk about cotton a lot, but rice is really what made America what it is.
Oh, interesting.
So, but I say that to say of how rice is such an important part of our culture, as Black people, but that kind of got I feel like slavery kind of messed a lot
Yeah.
of things up in our connection to the land and what we see and what we know.
Let me ask you this. Are people in the native land, are they called a Gullah Geechee also?
So in Charleston,
No, I'm not talking
usually,
about Charleston. I'm talking about in Africa.
oh, in Africa, no, because Gullah Geechee is something that was created and developed over here. So
Oh,
in
I
Africa,
got you.
but in certain parts of Africa, especially Sierra Leone, because they speak what is called Creole, Krio, and it sounds similar to Gullah, which Gullah is the which I call the mother tongue of Gullah Geechee. So they don't call themselves Gullah Geechee over in Africa. You know, they still go based off of their own ethnicities over there, but they
Okay.
you have certain countries that do honor and recognize Gullah Geechee people as what some have been calling us stolen Africans.
Now, when so in terms of the dialect, as and this is understandable. As little kids, this is how we learn how to talk. So you having that dialogue evidently was passed down by your parents and so on and so forth.
Right. Yeah, parents, community. Which is why it would be so odd because it would be people who speak Gullah Geechee that would be telling like children who speak Gullah Geechee to don't speak like that. That's why it would be so confusing to us growing up. But that, like I say that's just a part of the post-traumatic slave syndrome of
Yeah.
people feel like you can't get ahead unless you are speaking what they call the Queen or King's English.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. So where they when they left the plantation, the Gullah Geechee community, uh, did they always kind of live among themselves in a certain neighborhood? That you know how that usually transpires. Is that necessarily the case?
So yeah, we had a lot of mutual aid societies that was created, and especially the slavery down here was so unique because this was swampy area where I'm at. So it was real similar to the climate in West Africa. So there wasn't a lot of European influence, which is also why we was able to create and develop our own culture that doesn't have a lot of outside interactions outside of like different Black folks. And after slavery, a lot of people they bought land because after they quote unquote abolished slavery, a lot of white folks they left, because slavery was a business to them. That was how they made their money and their wealth. So since slavery was no longer illegal, they fled. They didn't want any of
I
this
got you.
area, and it was swampy area. So they didn't know how or want to do that work to build up their homes. So there's plenty of independent Gullah Geechee society that was created. It was one called Maryville that was created by a Gullah Geechee Black woman. She convinced a couple other Black folks to purchase land and they created and developed their own community. Plenty of it's one called Liberty Hill. As you see the name Liberty, that was formed by Black men who was enslaved, and after they got their freedom, they purchased that land and they turned it into a community. So we
Are
had a
those
lot of
are those in North Carolina?
it's in North Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. So now, did you live it and grow up in a Gullah Geechee community like what you just named?
So I do. I was raised all around North Charleston, which there's multiple different pockets of Gullah Geechee communities. But because we have the how they push drugs into the community and a lot of gentrification, which is a huge issue going on where I'm at. So it's not independent like it was before. It's predominantly Black, but it's not
Yeah.
owned and controlled by Gullah Geechee people. We don't control our own food supply like how we did back in the day.
So when you were growing up as a kid, did you didn't only play with other kids who were Gullah Geechee? I wouldn't suspect.
No,
Yeah.
no. The neighborhood is it's a lot more. I guess you can say it's still segregated,
Yeah,
but you do have other low wealth people who are in the neighborhoods
I
now. So
got you.
you have white, Mexican, different people.
Was your best friend Gullah Geechee growing up?
Um, Most of my friends are actually, yeah, Gullah Geechee, but also have friends who are different races, different ethnicities,
Oh, really?
who have moved into the area. But
Yeah,
growing up, especially as a kid, you play with anybody who comes
yeah,
outside with you.
yeah, right. Is there a particular uh customs of Gullah Geechee where you have to wake up at early in the morning and do certain things, or from a religious standpoint, you do certain things? Are there customs of that note? That is.
So there is. It really just depends on the household, though. So in Gullah Geechee, we practice something called hoodoo. um which some people, hoodoo has also been demonized, because anything I feel like that's related to blackness, has been demonized in the media and by society. But we do something called hoodoo, which is where we use a lot of what I just call, we work in relation to nature. um so a lot of, if somebody is sick, a lot of people will use a tea called Life Everlasting. It's a plant that grows naturally around here. We'll use that. That's one of our common rituals. You'll find that in a lot of Gullah Geechee people households. Even to this day, especially now with the pandemic, a lot of people will rely on that.
Okay.
Also, there's a thing called the hag. I think people call it something else in other cultures. They call it the boo hag. We just shorten it up. We call it the hag, which is like if you ever woke up like your mind was awake, but your body was still kind of like in a sleep state. You couldn't move. You try to scream, but you can't. So that's called the hag. And a common thing in my culture is some people will put newspapers on the wall to prevent the hag from messing with you. Put a glass or a jar of water next to your bed. um those are one things. And another common custom you'll find in Gullah Geechee households is we have a lot of haint blue, which is kind of like baby blue, but we have a lot of haint blue around our homes because we believe that haint blue protects us. That's a We love that color. That's actually on one of our flags. We have a, which I don't have next to me. We
Mhm.
created a Gullah Geechee diaspora flag. So you'll find these bottle trees all around Charleston and different Gullah Geechee homelands. And on the homes, you'll find people paint their doors either haint blue, they paint their window sills, or even their whole entire house will be painted haint blue just to keep bad spirits out.
Now you just mentioned something. I got time. You said you got a flag?
Yes, what
Yeah, I
I
want
can
to
go
see.
get
Yeah, I got
it.
time. Come on, sister. We rolling.
So this is it right here. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so we created this. Actually, next month is going to be the anniversary. So we created this with the Gullah Geechee diaspora. So even people who may have ancestry in the Gullah Geechee homelands, but probably are children or children of the Great Migration. We created this just to represent us as a whole of the Gullah Geechee diaspora. The black represents, like us as a whole, black people wherever we are. The blue, like how I mentioned with the Haint Blue story, that represents Haint Blue and also represents the waters. Because we feel like the water protects us and nurses us. Our body is mostly water, and even
Yeah.
as a baby before we come to this world in our mother's womb, we're surrounded by water. And
Yes.
so that's how we have that. And the green is for the land. Because like how I mentioned with slavery was agriculture based, and I feel like that also kind of it separated us and made us feel like land is harmful, but land is really where our power is at. That's why a lot of our ancestors after slavery, they purchased land. So this is right here to represent the land, that agriculture. And we have these crops, which they look like rice crops, but
Yeah.
these are to recognize all crops because we were targeted because we knew how to grow pretty much anything. Like that's why we were targeted. In school, at least I know for me, they made it seem like slavery happened because of our skin complexion, which that's not the case. We were targeted because of the knowledge that we had.
Yes,
So
I
that's
love
why
it.
we have those crops right here to remind us. And the crab, which is funny because people was asking, why do you have a flying saucer on the on the flag? But this is a crab shell. Being that in Gullah Geechee, we are surrounded by water. Like literally, people always call us. Even some people call us like people by the water. We are surrounded by the water. We love us some water, and so a lot of our food also comes from the water. We are big on eating crab. So that's how we have this here for multiple reasons. We love crab, and also just to kind of spin the narrative. You know how people say Black people hold each other back like crabs in a barrel.
Yes.
what we discovered is that a crab in its natural habitat, when the female crab is shedding her shell, have you ever ate soft shell crab?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's when the female crab sheds her shell. You know, she's more exposed and vulnerable. The male crab actually comes up and covers her until she's finished molding. So we discover, you know, when the crab is actually in their natural habitat, they don't hold each other back. They don't pull each other down. They actually protect each other. You know, and a barrel is not a crab natural habitat. So of course, if you take a crab out of their natural habitat and put them in an
I
oppressive
love
system,
it.
you're going to have that. So that's why we got that here. And the spear right here is to represent the Gullah War, because also a lie that they told us in school is that Abraham Lincoln freed us, which that's not what happened. Our ancestors fought back during the Gullah Wars, what took place in 1739 is continuing on to this day, because we're still fighting for basic things like clean water and access to fresh food and vegetables. So that's why this is right here, just to remind us of the Gullah War and how our ancestors are the reason why. I mean, that's why even in the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln only freed folks in the rebellious states first,
That's
because our
right.
ancestors were constantly fighting back. They call it the Seminole War, but that's the Seminole is not a Native American tribe. There's people who identify Seminole now, but that just means Seminole means runaway in indigenous language, and that was applied to the Africans who were running away from slavery and fighting back. Andrew Jackson mentioned in one of his journals that this is not, like he said, that this is not an Indian war, this is a Negro war. Because when he were meeting up with them to fight in these battles, he was seeing Black men.
I love it. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, right on, right on. Okay, how about this? So as you grew up, did you leave Gullah life to some extent? You know what I mean? Did I know and assimilate? I mean, you don't have the dialect. Can you still do the dialect real easily? If
So I
and
think,
or if you were around others, you would revert back to the dialect.
yeah, so I don't call it code switching. I used to. So, but I know how to balance out or switch my language to whoever I'm speaking to.
I got you.
Um, but when I was growing up, I tried to, because that's one thing. Like I used to be targeted because of my thick accent. So that's just something as us as Gullah Geechee people, I feel like it's kind of like a trauma response. Honestly, if we meet somebody who's not Gullah Geechee, we try to like suppress our accent and our
Right.
dialect. But if we're around other Gullah Geechee people, it comes out. Like it comes out strong. Or if we're upset or passionate about something, it comes out strong. And because I've tried to like hide my accent, especially I spent some time in Colombia. I ended up in foster care at one point, and I was shipped off to Colombia. And that's honestly when I really knew, like, okay, I speak a totally different language. Because when I went there, I just acted like I was just some gal from Africa. Because it was just
Yeah.
like, why do you sound like that? Like, where are you from?
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
tried to, but couldn't really, you know, I can kind of, I guess, say the certain words, but that accent is just something that I couldn't really erase.
Yeah.
Which
I
I'm
love
glad
it.
because, you know, that's a part of our ancestral tongue. That's our ancestral language.
I have on the channel Queen Quet.
Okay.
She's on the channel. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And you know, walk whatever fine line you have to walk, if there is such. Do you recognize her, or does everybody recognize her in some
So
capacity? Or
you have some people that do, just like how, you know, in Black culture or even in America, you have different Black identity groups. You got the Hebrew Israelites, you got the Moors. So same within Gullah Geechee. We're not a monolith. You have some
I
people
got you.
who are underneath the leadership of Queen Quet, and you have some of us who are just independent. So how, you know, how I look at it and how other people look at it, I didn't appoint anybody as a queen, but she is a queen in her own right, you know, but
I got you.
that's that's how I look at it. A
I
lot of
got
us
you.
are we move as independent bodies.
Do so. Is there a staple in terms of the diet? I know okra, rice. Are there other things that gumbo, a lot of seafood? I'm sure that.
So rice, like you mentioned, rice is a huge staple. We eat rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But now we're kind of seeing people are trying to adopt and adapt different things because diabetes is also a huge issue within Gullah Geechee communities. Because like I mentioned, we no longer have access to fresh fruit and vegetables, which is insane, being that we were enslaved on agriculture plantations. So there's a lot of health disparities happening within the community, especially now with COVID-19, that kind of like elevated a lot of issues going on. But rice is still the main thing for all people, like in the South. Like rice, you're going to find, you go to any restaurant in the South, especially Charleston, be it white or black, you are going to find rice on the menu. So rice is still like a huge thing, a huge part of our culture and identity.
Is there a holiday that you all recognize that you celebrate that then becomes a big festival?
There's a lot of Gullah Geechee festivals and celebration that happens. There's a rice festival that happens out, I want to say, in Georgia. So there's a lot of different festivals, and there's actually somebody just created a red rice festival in Charleston. I guess I don't, but with the COVID-19 pandemic, I haven't really seen much. I guess people are still trying to
Yeah,
navigate and
yeah,
figure out
sure.
how to, do that. But one thing I know that we launched, that we did, we had a big crab crack one year just to bring everybody out. I think they call it a crab boil in other areas, but
Yes.
we just get bushels of crab, we lay it out on the table, we have newspapers. I know I kind of got fancy and I put banana leaves down. And we just throw crab on the table and we just eat and we are in relationship with each other.
I love it. I don't know that, like I said, it's not live. If you don't mind asking, could you date a guy who's not Gullah Geechee?
Yeah, I'm actually dating somebody now. He's not Gullah Geechee, but his family is from Trinidad, and Gullah Geechee and Caribbean culture is, we have a huge connection
Oh,
between Gullah Geechee and
really?
the Caribbean. Yeah, because the same way that Caribbean culture was, created, that same creolization process they went through, that's the same exact way process of how Gullah Geechee culture was developed. We went through that same creolization process on the plantations. But yeah, I don't discriminate
Yeah, in that
between black
regard,
folks,
yeah.
at least between like black folks.
Yeah. Is there a book of some sort that defines Gullah Geechee that if someone was not a part, this is the one book that I suggest you read to learn more, to appreciate our culture?
Yes, where is it? One second. Let me see if I
I
can. I
got
have my
time.
bookshelf right here. I have so many books. I'm not sure where I put it, but
Yeah.
it's this one book, and it's the most recent one I found on Gullah Geechee culture. It's called Talking to the Dead, which is one of my favorite books that I'm still reading. And
Okay.
it talks about not only just about Gullah Geechee, but also just how to connect with your ancestors. Because that's one thing that we do that's also huge in our culture. And some people I guess feel kind of way when we talk about the dead, but that's just like people saying, I pray my grandma or whoever passed away is watching over us.
Yes.
But I highly recommend that book because she break it down and also to like present day terms of
Okay.
as in regards to Gullah Geechee. Because one thing people I feel like who are not from here or get confused by is that you have some people who will just identify as Geechee. You have some people who just identify as Gullah.
Oh,
You have people
really?
who are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's different between, I guess, what area you in. Like I know even in Georgia that I recently discovered, they call themselves saltwater Geechees, and some people call themselves freshwater Geechee, which was new to me. Because like I said, just being in North Charleston, I always heard Geechee. But like I mentioned, the miseducation inside school and the communities, we thought for the longest growing up that Geechee were just people who were in the city part of Charleston, and Gullah were the people on the islands. But we know the whole thing is Gullah Geechee, but you do have people who identify as just Gullah Geechee or both, and you still have some who don't even identify as Gullah Geechee, but you will hear them like their accent is just as thicker than mine. The way
Yes.
they move and eat and do everything is Gullah Geechee, but like I mentioned, I feel like because of that post-traumatic slave syndrome that they haven't unpacked, that they are still ashamed to be like, I'm proud or I am Gullah Geechee.
I got you. There's not a Gullah Geechee dance or anything like that?
So
Is
it
there?
actually is. So I'm on TikTok. Anybody want to follow me? I'm close to 50K. But there's a dance called, they call it the Charleston, which now they call it the shuffle and
Yeah.
stuff. But that originate with us, like all these dances and stuff that people are doing now, especially on TikTok, which I'm like, because it's a lot of white folks who are getting like millions of dollars imitating and copying dances that we created, and black creators are still
Okay.
struggling just to get that recognition. But
Okay.
there's like a lot of modern day dances that people are doing now actually has roots in Gullah Geechee. There's one mentioned in Charleston. There's a picture of it. On if y'all look up Daniel Joseph Jenkins and what he created, the group home he created, which I briefly mentioned before when I was in foster care, that was the first group home I went to. And that's how I just know my ancestors have always been guiding me and with me, because I didn't even realize that was a group home created by a Gullah Geechee man until like I became an adult. But one thing he did, because it's not like the government was funding any Black org or anything. They didn't care if it was an orphanage or not. So he made that group home self-sufficient. And one thing he did is he turned it into a band for the kids who had musical talent. And one thing they would do is they would go around and dance, not just locally, but they was in Germany, they was all around town just dancing. And that's actually how the Charleston, what they call the Charleston, became popularized. But there's even documents that at first they was calling it the Geechee dance, and that stems from the dances our ancestors were doing on the plantation.
I love it. And then as we kind of come to a close, what is the for the general public? I know you said rice festivals and things of that sort. That's something that I can come to, and usually when is the one that's near you in Charleston?
So the only one I've heard of in Charleston, which is something that we're trying to create, like I said, is the Red Rice Festival, but I haven't heard anything of it happening last year. I feel like because of the pandemic, a lot of things kind of died down. But one thing that they do consistently in Charleston is the Moja Arts Festival, which is a celebration of African American and Caribbean heritage. And so I would say check that out. They might be doing things, but a lot of stuff may be virtual. But to really pay attention between September and October. October is Gullah Geechee Hoodoo Heritage Month. So I would say there might be some things popping off then, but again, with the COVID and the Omari Khan and all these different strands coming out, I don't know how that's going to look.
Yes. I had one more. I've been to Savannah, Georgia, and which there was a gentleman there. They said, "Hey, we're the king of Gullah Geechee." that was his interpretation. And then I left there and I went to the islands, and I went to the Penn Center. That's further up South Carolina than Charleston.
Yeah, the Penn Center is in Beaufort, I believe.
Yes, I think St. Simon's or St. Helena Island. St. Helena Island, I think is where it is. I've been there. Is there some question that I have not asked you offhand that you want to share? Anything come to mind?
I guess what projects I'm working on now.
Yeah, please do that. Now, when you say you are part of an organization?
Yeah, so I'm a part of multiple. I have anything that's related to like Black liberation or anything without advancement, I tend to have my hands in. But there's one which is called Geechee Experience that me and my brother founded 2 years ago. And that's an online platform just preserving Gullah Geechee language and culture. With that, and also I recently started a health business called Futnus, Futnus, Futnuss, and that's a Geechee themed mobile juice bar, decolonizing wellness in Charleston, and also dismantling the racism within the food system, and also celebrating Gullah Geechee agriculture heritage, because I feel like that's left out when we talk about agriculture. Over like in the early 1900s, most of the farmland was owned by Black people, but now today we own less than 2% of farmland. So that's the mission I'm on, is to just eradicate the racism within the food system. Again, going back, I'm a school teacher, and I've seen how based on zip codes, they would feed these children, I'll turn rotten food. But literally once I go across to the predominantly white schools, these kids are getting kale. And so I'm like, I feel like it shouldn't be, everybody should have equal access to healthy food.
Let's go back to the different organizations, and do they have websites so that my viewers can know about those?
Geechee Experience, we have a website. You can also, if y'all haven't, our video called Geechee 101. This kind of just like a brief snapshot into how we speak in Charleston, because that's also one thing people get confused by. Just like Spanish. You have Spanish, but you also have different dialects and languages within the Spanish language. Same thing with Gullah Geechee. I'm from North Charleston, South Carolina, but I can tell a Gullah Geechee person that's from downtown Charleston, that's from West Ashley, and that's from James or John Island, because there's a different dialect, even though it's all Gullah Geechee, but the dialect and how we say certain things can be different. And oftentimes it is different. So, but if y'all want to check out that, it's called Geechee 101 on YouTube, but our website, our website is called Geechee Experience. And my other website, anybody interested in Geechee themed mobile juice bar, is called Futnus, FUTNUSS.com.
Thank you. Got you. Got to get the plug in. I want you to plug it. We plugging
Oh,
things on this
definitely.
channel. What are you talking about? Everybody watch to the plug. I say this with all sincerity. Hold on, before I say this, thank you for coming on the channel.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you spending time to share this, because there are people that you know have talked about it. You've given a good perspective on it, especially the hair part. I didn't know that. That's exciting. I want to come down and see it, and hopefully I will, and we'll be able to this year at some point. I want to do that.
No.
Stay in touch.
Oh, definitely. I forgot to mention, I actually just started doing tours with Airbnb. So check me out doing tours in North Charleston.
There we go. Rock and roll. Yeah, get it all in, girl. Get it all in. I say thanks everybody for watching this. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification, hit some button. I don't care what button you hit, just hit a button. Come on now. And do that. And go to her website. You go to take the tours and follow this sister. This is what she doing it, and so on and so forth. And that your family has ingrained that, but did not make you embarrassed by it. They knew the difference. And whatever part that other people said, you said, oh man, forget you. This is how I am, and I'm gonna go with this from now on. I like that. And so I say this with all sincerity, and I mean this. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love where you coming from, your angle, and how you telling people and all that. Oh man, this is beautiful. Continue to do that, please. And with that, I'll say bye-bye, we out. Oh no, before I say bye, is there, say something in Gullah Geechee as to like so long, or to conclude us.
To conclude, so again, I speak Geechee. So how we conclude and say things, how we end the conversation off, and we just be like, I finna dip, I go holler at y'all boy later.
There it is. And what did that mean?
It just means I'm about to go, and I will talk to you later. I'll see you later.
I love it. There it is. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Y'all have a good one.
Yes.